Good evening, and welcome to the first ever virtual Pueblo 48-hour film festival. I'm Nick Potter, Director of Community Relations and Development for the Pueblo City County Library District. Tonight's film festival is being streamed live from the Rawlings Library. The Pueblo 48-hour film festival has been encouraging creativity among new and experienced filmmakers since 2008. Each year, filmmakers are presented with the challenge of creating a film from start to finish in only 48 hours using the required thematic elements. Requirements consist of quotes, a location, characters, and several plots, all of which must be incorporated into each film of no more than 6 minutes and 30 seconds in length. The films are reviewed by a panel of judges and are allotted specifically designed awards for each category. Guidelines for filmmakers to participate are as follows. Any creative work in advance of the competition is prohibited. No films or film segments created for any other project may be submitted. Animation and special effects are allowed, but must be created during the official 48-hour timeframe. The only work to begin prior to the official time period is the organization of a crew, organizing a cast, securing equipment and scouting/securing locations, and all films must be uploaded to YouTube or Vimeo and submitted via the 48-hour Film Festival website. Any type of filming equipment and/or camera may be used. Multiple cameras are permitted. Any stock photos or music used in the film must be original, or the team must acquire rights for its use. This year's film festival takes place during the Library District's All Pueblo Reads project, featuring best-selling author and chef Yotam Ottolenghi and his cookbook, Flavor. The thematic elements selected for the film festival were created around the themes of All Pueblo Reads this year, and they include this year's filmmaker teams include Team Dead Hand Art, Dave Pharisee, and Dream Teller Videos. Now, for tonight's featured event, I hope you have a great time watching films from our very talented Pueblo community. Enjoy the films. Thank you for joining us this evening.
My God.
In this week's episode of All Pueblo Eats, will this chef cook up something that Chef Gordon has never had before?
Today, I'm with one of the worst chefs I've ever seen.
Hi, I'm Meg, and today I'm going to be making sloppers.
The chef claims she's making a slopper. But is that a sandwich?
Yes, chef.
You don't use the whole bun?
No, chef.
Does it have green chili in it?
Yes, chef.
You're making soup. This is green chili. Half a bun.
Slopper, being a Pueblo tradition, requires the use of the Pueblo chili. While Gordon and I were in town, we perused for a pair of Pueblo peppers.
My God. It should be obvious that there's a problem here. This chili, it's watery.
It's a family recipe.
Just because it's called a slopper doesn't mean you throw slop on a plate.
Yes, chef.
So take this pumpkin. It's still going to be chopped up for ingredients, but when I select it, I look for balance, symmetry, and flair. What do you think gets picked up in this kitchen?
The temperature seems correct to me, chef.
This looks to temperature. This is raw. This is effing raw.
Will Gordon Ramsay finally enjoy a meal that somebody else cooked? Or will this kombucha-crazed chef drive him to the edge?
Some come by invitation, some come by word of mouth, some just walking off the street. You know, they hear the music or hear us preaching.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Alton Brown, world famous chef, and today, on this week's edition of All Eats Pueblo, we will be making a fine New York strip steak. We'll start from day one with a fine cut of steak right here. We will coat it with some sea salt. Edges too.
Sort of point him in the right direction.
Ernest Smith had been adopted as a child,
And
he appreciated
my
his
secret
family,
recipe, a little bit
having
of
not
au
had a
jus.
traditional family growing up.
Ernest was special. Industry was his heartbeat. You have heard the term that he'd give you straight off his back a lot of times down the line, but this was one guy that would give you his last. He was awesome.
In 1990, Ernest captures the attention of 26-year-old Emma Judge, a vibrant
Rub that in real
from
good.
a small town in the Mississippi Delta.
You know, by going to his ministry when he was preaching.
While in Pueblo earlier this morning, I happened to peruse a couple of Pueblo peppers. We will be using these in our recipe later on.
Ernest is smitten with his
For now,
and on November
we'll put this fine cut of steak in the refrigerator to chill.
Well, all of us met, got together one Sunday for a Sunday dinner at our home, and Ernest and Emma, their children, and my 5 daughters, talked, broke bread together.
And this is Dave Pharisee.
Built a relationship.
And to talk about the worst chef in Pueblo, I would have to go back to the days when I was a young man washing dishes at the Pueblo Country Club. Now, a friend of mine, Chris, and I were washing dishes one night, and they were having a wedding reception, big fancy wedding reception, and we had a couple of chefs there at the Pueblo Country Club, and one of them was Willie. And Willie was very temperamental. And one night at this reception, my friend Chris, Willie tells him to bring over to him this big chunk of meat that was sitting on a counter. So my friend Chris is taking the meat over to Willie, and he trips on one of those metal grates that are on the floors of some restaurants. He trips on this grate. This chunk of meat goes flying through the air. It's rolling on the floor. Well, Willie goes all kombucha crazy. He grabs a cleaver, and he is chasing my friend Chris around the corner, past the time clock, and Chris runs out the door into the parking lot. And that, I would have to say, was the worst chef in Pueblo that I can recall. Well, I'll let you know next week how this steak turns out, but until then, I hope you enjoyed this edition of All Eats Pueblo, and we shall see you next time. Thank you very much.
And Ernest come back.
Purple cotton, leafed tapestry, and worn burgundy wood, where we sit at the edge of the kitchen, a gray dog muffled on the back porch. Only the kombucha ferments in the brown burnished jar, ginger, lemon, yellow as the inside of the Anaheim pepper.
Oh, hello and welcome. Come on into my Coca-Cola kitchen. Oh, well, look at these lovely peppers I picked up at the local grocery store. Peppers. Look at these scrumptious, thick-skinned, perfectly green peppers. While in town, we perused a pair of Pueblo peppers. What is the big fuss about these Pueblo peppers? Please tell me. Let's take a moment now and see what the fuss is about these peppers. Look at that color. Smell that aroma. I think I'm going to put it in my next pot of stew. I'll be right back. We've got to get the rest of the ingredients.
The waxy skin from stem to tip, thick, juicy, stuffed with cheese and smothered with green chili. I want a burnished red pepper, what peeks up through an equinox in the color of winter solstice.
Hi there! I'm Wolfgang Punk. That's P-U-N-K-N. I'm a future megastar on YouTube and TikTok, and this is the start. We're going to tackle the most wonderful things about pumpkin pie.
The ridges of the pumpkin descend to the blossom that brushes the ground as if a broom in a factory where pies are baked, and the scent waffles out on the wind in a neighborhood of cars junked in the front yard.
Now, there's one thing though about pumpkin pie. Everybody else's pumpkin pie, it's just pumpkin. You know what I mean? There's something one note about it, but not my pumpkin pie. And I oftentimes use, frankly, the pumpkin from the store in the can. And also another thing you could do is, because this is also orange, right? I mean, really, it's so great with pumpkin pie. Squash, this is crookneck squash. And when you combine the two, Oh, your Aunt Sally will have a conniption.
Aunt Sally loves her crook neck squash, the way the neck rounds to belly, as if looking out over the reservoir in a storm, wind whipping as the river rushes to the dam, the underside of waves orange in the descending sun.
Now what if we put in 2 cans of sauerkraut for every one of pumpkin? That would really add zest. And if there's anything we want, you will infuse your pumpkin pie with tuna. Now, tuna in pumpkin pie is just the most delicious thing that could possibly be. Now, finally, we come to the pièce de résistance. Now, this is Vlasic brand, but if you use any brand of chopped dill pickles, mix it in with the pumpkin pie filling, you will find that your pumpkin pie is so scrumptious. It's going to replace apple pie as the most American thing, really, even though it's kind of German, really, when you come right down to it. And that's okay. Now, we come to Betty Crocker cookbook. This cookbook, I have to tell you, I can't follow this cookbook.
The way it wanders off the counter, falls on the floor, opens its spine as if in a kombucha crazed delirium. Ah, so delicious.
Well, I think we've come to the end of part 1. You know, this is going to be just a whole series of beautiful, wonderful, you're going to love all of these cooking shows I'm going to give for you. But now we have to cut it off because I have ingredients to get for part 2 and they're out in the garage. So, thanks so much for coming. I love you guys. Mwah!
I hope you enjoyed the films as much as I did. We sure have some very talented and creative filmmakers in our community. After we received the films, a panel of judges viewed each submission and carefully selected awards for specific categories. I want to extend a great thank you to this year's judges panel. This year's judges included Gregory Howell, Susan Wolf, and David Chavez. Thank you all for providing your expertise and dedicating time to bestow awards to each of our films. Now on to our awards. Tonight's awards go to Judge's Choice, film number 1, Family Recipe by Dead Hand Art. Best Musical Score, film number 2, All Pueblo Eats, featuring David Pharisee. Best Production Design, film number 1, Family Recipe by Dead Hand Art. Best Script, film number 3, Aunt Sally's Conniption by Dream Teller Video. Best Performer, film number 1, Shannon Palmer and Family Recipe by Dead Hand Art. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and congratulations to all of the filmmakers. Have a great evening, and be sure to check out the library's social media and web pages for every All Pueblo Reads program. Thank you for joining us this evening, and have a great night.